And welcome back to Rocket Right. I am Hurricane Betsy Barnes here with Dr. Kay Solar, and we are very excited to have with us tonight Wes Watts, who is the superintendent of West Baton Rouge Schools. But Wes is not just an extraordinary superintendent of the ever-improving West Baton Rouge Parish School Systems. No, he is also the president of the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents, which is all school superintendents, over 680,000 students throughout our state. Thank you so much for coming to be with us.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. Appreciate it.
So you have worked your way up through the school system as a teacher and a coach and a principal and now superintendent. And really a lot of people don't hear a lot about what do superintendents think. They really don't. They hear about teachers' unions, they hear about different educational groups, but the superintendents are really where the rubber meets the road, where the bottom line is for that school system. And it's so important for the superintendents to be able to have a voice. So one of the things that we wanted to share was the voice of the superintendents throughout our state. And they recently had a conference about a week ago in Baton Rouge, and they all came together and they came up with 3 things that they felt were most important. And so can you tell us a little bit about these 3 things? Because this is really something Louisiana needs.
Yeah, and I think, Betsy, I could just let you go. I mean, you nailed that. That's absolutely what we're trying to do, and I appreciate that. And yeah, you know, sometimes we get kind of blurred in with other organizations, and we really feel we are the experts in the field. We're out there every day working with our teachers and our principals and our schools and our parents, and so we just felt like we wanted to kind of have a clear voice. Because when it comes to legislation or Bessie policy, we want it to be heard, you know. And I think in the not too recent past, we were a little bit negative, and we really were pretty much viewed as being against everything. And you know what, we sat in our fall conference a couple weeks ago, just said, what are we for? And who are we? And if we're going to get people to listen to us, they need to know what we're for. And we get lost in that whole blurred message, and we're for kids.
Yeah, that's right.
As public school superintendents, I chose to go into the field of education because I wanted to help kids. I wanted to have an impact on young people the same way that my dad, coaches and teachers in my life. I go back to 3 or 4 teachers in my life, and I would think just about anybody watching, you can go back and just think about who was that one teacher?
You can.
Who was that one coach?
Because everybody is going to have that 1 or 2 people at different levels of their schooling.
Absolutely.
That were very impactful from them. Whether it's that one person in high school, that one person in grade school, that one person in college, they can put their name on that part of their education.
And it was one of those folks that either encouraged you or maybe even just kind of righted your ship, and like you were kind of wavering and weren't doing right, and it was somebody that grabbed you and said, hey, you're better than that, right?
Yeah, that's
And so that's who we are. That's our core as superintendents. That's where we come from. And so the message, we just said, we need to change how we're viewed, and so we're for kids. And so if you look at this flyer that we've put out there, or these 3 focal points, pretty simple. I mean, these are things that we've worked on, but we really felt like we needed to reframe who we were. And so it's our priorities for improving student outcomes. That's what we're about. We're about maximizing the potential of every student that comes into our school, whatever that potential may be.
And, you know, often superintendents get all the problems. Hardly anybody comes to you and says, great job. We love the way that bus line's working at the new school. They never do that.
No.
They never do that. They never say, we really like the new principal. They never hardly ever do that, because people come with the problems, not the solutions. And so to shift that and to be more positive and solution oriented, or here's what we're for, sets a totally different tone in any conversation.
Absolutely, and even with, you know, on a greater level in terms of policy and legislation, we should walk into a legislative committee, the House Education Committee, Senate Education Committee, and we should walk in and be able to get support from both sides of the aisle. We cannot connect ourselves to, and I felt like we did that a little bit. When we go to Bessie, you're going to have Bessie members that are pro, what would you call a public school camp, or those who are pro-charter and pro-choice, or whatever they may be.
Yes.
As superintendents, we are for good schools.
That's
Whatever
right.
that looks like, we are for good schools because we're about kids, and we want good outcomes for kids. And so we said, let's just start with something simple. And look, when people hear this, they want to go, well, y'all are really brilliant to come up with these 3. But we felt like we just, and during this COVID situation too, sometimes we've gotten caught up in really just trying to manage school and deal with
Right.
coronavirus cases. And it's like this, we just said, okay, what are those most important things that we can really focus on right now that would also build on improving student outcomes in the future? And there were 3 things that we came up with.
Okay.
Number 1 was making sure, doing everything possible for every student to be reading on grade level by the 3rd grade. And the reason for that is research shows that those kids that aren't reading on grade level by the 3rd grade are the greatest percentage of students that don't graduate. That's a foundational mark there. And so
Right.
you can put your thumb on that mark. And one of the things, and this is going to blow people's mind because we've been viewed as a anti-accountability group. We're actually asking for some 1st and 2nd grade assessments to be put into the state accountability formula. We're actually asking for some accountability on this to make sure it's a priority. Not that it hadn't been. We did a 5-year strategic plan in 2016. It rolled out, and our number 2 goal was this. Number 1 was being ready for school by kindergarten. Number 2 was reading on grade level. So it's not anything new. It was let's make sure that we're putting our resources towards that, right? So that was number 1. And now, I don't want to be hypocritical. We do think we're over-tested, but there's some things on the back end that we can maybe take away and put some things in for 1st and 2nd graders. That being said, number 2 was that when our students graduate, that they don't graduate with just a diploma, that they have college credit, whether it be through advanced placement, dual enrollment, but they also maybe have some industry-based certification, some of those skills that make them marketable.
Welding or other things that where they can
Those
come out of school and get a
NCCERs,
job.
that they can come out and we have provided them with some skills that give them a leg up on other people maybe in the workforce, that they're prepared.
Well, when we went to school, and I might be a little bit older, but when we went to school, there was shop class, there was welding, there was basic mechanics, there was a lot of things. I mean,
Right.
whether you were a homemaker, or whether you were going to type, or whatever you were going to do, those were basic learning skills that you learned. And I, in high school, worked after high school and have been working ever since, but I got some basic skills in
Right.
high school. And I think that that's kind of gone away, and not everybody's ready for
It's coming back.
college.
It's
Yeah.
coming back through our Jump Start initiative in the
glad.
state, but we kind of swung the pendulum way too far to everybody needs to go to college. No, that's not true. We want the opportunity. We want kids when they leave us to be prepared to go to college if they choose to.
Well, if they
But what's
can pay
wrong if
for
they
it.
choose to do
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah,
right?
and if they can pay for it, if they're working, they can go to school while they work.
And so
You know?
that was number 2, that they leave us with something, a career credential, an industry-based certification, college credit if they're going
Something
to
to
a
hang their hat
university,
on.
something to just to boost their marketability or their opportunity in
Right.
post-secondary.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, which is, this one's a passion of mine, it is that we need to encourage more people to choose the field of education. The quickest way we can improve education in Louisiana is to put more great teachers in front of our kids.
You're right.
And we have done a great job in our school system. I'm biased, but I really think, but we really encourage people to go into the medical field, go into engineering, everything but teaching. Why are we not encouraging our best and brightest students to go into the field of education? It is the profession that leads to all other professions. It is impactful. It is impactful on communities. It is impactful on our economy. I mean, school impacts everybody. So we need, and so teaching kind of lost some of its great reputation. A lot of people used to teach because there was an aura to that. I'm a teacher
Yes.
and well respected. I think we have to change the narrative. We have beat up education so bad. I know we have improvement to do. We're not denying that, but we beat it up so bad. I think a lot of our best don't choose to go that route for that reason. And I'm really proud. My son is a graphic designer, and just recently decided to go into. We had a family business and we sold it because he wanted to go teach. And I'm really
That's
excited about that.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm really passionate about encouraging people to go. We have a program that was started by Kim Eckert, our Teacher of the Year.
Yes,
in
we have
2018,
interviewed her. She is dynamic and very motivational.
called Educators Rising, and that's what it's focused on. And in our first year, we had 5 kids get college scholarships to go into schools of education.
That's
I
great.
think, so that's our
fantastic.
third one. So we have 2 academic ones and encourage people to go into education.
But with the right attitude, and that is the right attitude, there's no reason that more people, maybe they don't believe they're smart enough to be a teacher,
Right.
but I bet with the right mentoring, they are. So we're really excited about those
Yep.
3 opportunities for students to improve in Louisiana.
Yep.
I mean, it's so important.
Right.
So Wes Watts, I'm so thankful that you could
Yes.
come. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Wes
it.
Watts is the president of the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents. He's going to come back and tell us some of the things that he has done in West Baton Rouge to reduce the number of students that drop out and stay dropped out and to continue their education. Thank you so much, Wes.
Thank y'all
We're
for
so
having
glad
me.
you could
Yeah,
come.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
And we'll be right back.